So this is G Innovations Tramontina Machete, the 14-inch one that I modded. This is pretty much my go-to machete that I have in the garage for demonstration, illustrations, and also if I need to do some little clearing drills, this is what I usually use. But important thing when I work on a machete is I prefer natural material versus synthetics. Because anytime when it's a synthetic, I definitely prefer to use stippling. But when I have something like this, I could actually use it for my typical G Innovations wrapping. So this is done in what we call mod ass wrap, as you guys all know if you came to train with me. On the website, I think it's typed as a mod 2 that we officially designated as. Now, beauty about the mod 2 or mod ass wrap is, one, it gives you that nice kind of like almost like a palm swell to actually feel your hand much better. And two, I like to do a mod 0 spiral wrap on the saya or the scabbard or the sheath, because this, and also get some ranger bands on top to kind of give it a little grip, especially when you put it on the belt. I also create a little frog or the belt stud, so it actually does get stuck in the belt, so you don't have to worry about things slipping straight down without attaching it. You could also paracord it if need be, but this is typically how I set it up. Main reason why I set it up like this is, if you know me, I have a background in Japanese martial arts, so this allows for those of us who trained, your EI actually can be done. So it's like some of my students from the past, when they come by to train, they're kind of shocked that, wait a minute. Gee, you made these so you could do EI with them? I says, yeah, why not? It works. But anyhow, it's got the forced patina, mustard and vinegar finish on it. Really works well. I left it as is because I've experimenting in different blade shape. I even cut them down. I've done all sorts of different shapes for this particular model. And what I realized the following is, when you start grinding the edge and reshaping it, you're kind of messing up the heat treatment on these, because these are not. It's like when you do differential heat treatment, that's a different story, because you're tempering it to make sure that the heat treatment retains itself, so you don't lose that flexibility and ruggedness on the edge and the spine. On these, it's questionable at best, because you're actually doing this whole by machinery. Due to that particular logic and reason, I found that when you mod them, like reshape the blades, it has a tendency to really weaken the structural integrity. So I've actually seen a lot of blades, even with Tramontinas, where the tips would snap where you actually did the modifications. Because of that, I'm leaving it as is. I haven't had this even grinded by Daniel yet. So when it's time, and when I say the time is when I have a student who's going to be going for his category instructor accreditation in Floro fighting systems, and definitely up to at least a category 3, getting machete, Calicilstrissimo, and FFS knife, foregrip or reverse, depending on which one is better suited for you at the time when you do your FFS CIA. I'll get these grinded by Daniel. Till then, I use it for my personal use. I got another one in the garage. Typically when I do any project, I always try to do them in pairs to see which one turns out best and which one doesn't. But wanted to share this with you to show you how you could do your machete mods. The sheath is typically your GI surplus plastic poly sheath that you get from any surplus store. I think these are meant for Ontario by Rothko, if I remember correctly. I think these are by Rothko. But check them out. You should be able to find at least tons of them online. All I do is I try to cut them. Remember, I do these with hand tools. I do not use any power tools. So simply I use a hand saw to kind of saw it down to the length that will fit, and simply give it one more inch so I could still have some room on it, and then do the wrapping, and I'm done. Now these already have little drain holes, so I don't have to worry about if I'm going in the wilderness or in the woods of it, And if it rains a lot, or if I get water, if I go through water, the drain hole's right there, so it'll drain it out. And force patina, beauty of that is it reduces rusting. That's something that I found for a fact, because the patina's already formed over it, so it does that on that. Still rust, but it'll rust less. So keep that in mind. So there's that. Now I get a lot of questions asked regarding what knife should I get. For if you know me, I had like quite a bit of evolution in 2020, and last year especially, because one of the things that came about was as I was going through my blades, I sold a lot of blades. I'm sure you did too, because, well, the time. Family comes first, and you really try your best to help everyone out. So what I did was I sold all the blades that are non-essential to me. So this meant that I literally, if you came to the house in the past, you probably were familiar with my nyontos and also my other swords, like my barong and my bolo. Right now, a lot of my students are shocked when they come to the house. I have one kampilan that I restored with help, advices from my teachers, and I have some machetes, one bolo that is super customized by yours truly, and that's it. Only super costly knife that I have in my possession actually was something that a lot of my students helped me to get, because they wanted me to test it and utilize it to see if it works for our practice. And I'll do a review on that after this today, since I got some time. So other than that, I have none. And so when students call me up asking, gee, what would you recommend for a knife that you could use for everything? And one of the things that came about from last year as I had that epiphany was a knife should be something that can be used in multitude of circumstances. It can't be just designated as a combat knife. It should be more than that. It should be able to do fieldcraft when it needs to be. When you cut things up, you should also be able to use your knife for culinary things, or when you're out and about in the woods, and if you just caught a game, you should be able to dress it. And you should also, after washing that damn knife, washing it first, and you should be able to use that to cut up your meal and use it for cooking and culinary things too. So on that front, my recommendation, after my teacher, my good friend and my brother-in-arms, Master Raymond Floro, shout out to Ray, how's it going, brother? When Ray gifted me a Mora knife, that thing kind of sparked this whole thing. So I have my personal Mora inside, and I think I showed you guys that last time on one of the clips. So look back at that if you want to take a look at that particular Mora. But this one is a super customized one by me. It's an earlier Erickson, KJ Erickson Mora. So you're gonna have to do some searching if you want to get this. I actually had to do some searching on my own through my other things, and like I said, that's how I find a lot of blades for modifications. And this one, what's so special about it is this thing comes with that nylon dangler. It actually worked for belt attachment. It actually works really well. I hate the hard, plastic ones that they got right now. It just doesn't work for me at all. So let's start with the sheath. Obviously, it's got a ferro rod that's got a really nice desert iron handle on it. Absolutely love this thing. Ranger band, which can be used to actually start fire if you need something to catch on there, if you can't find anything else to get things going. This actually catches fire pretty well too. A whistle, because one of the things that I learned from some of my students who do search and rescue, they explained to me that a whistle is packed not just for people to hear that you're there. It's the search pups, the dogs, the puppies, the adorable man's best friend. They actually have an acute hearing that outbeats us any day of the week. So when you use this to actually try to get attention, that you're there asking for help, the pups will key in on this from distance that people can't hear. Thus increases your chances of survivability. This is the reason why I recommend having a whistle on your survival knife or survival rig at all costs. Next is snares. Now, if you're gonna do any type of fieldcraft and training, what you need to also understand is you need to learn to catch small games. This, if you also pack a small fishing hook, you could also use to catch fish if you know how to with using whatever's available. Compass is a must. No matter how good sense of direction you might have, when you're lost or when you're stressed and surrounded, or if you've been injured or your sense of balance or equilibrium have been impaired, you're not going to be able to judge distance and also directions well as you normally would. So compass is a must. Now let's go to the knife, which is I'm sure what you guys would probably want to do before going in. So the handle I want to show you, I did a G-Innovations Mod 1 wrap, so this allows me to know which direction's which, because when you grab the knife you can feel that one side actually has a palm swell, the other side will not. So under low light conditions, or if something happened and my vision has been impaired, I'll still know which side is which without even telling with the whole grip directions and grip orientation. This will allow me to know which side is which. Next is, which side is a paracord. Now this paracord is very important, especially if you practice Floro fighting systems, and also for survival use also. You could use this. It's too short to do much fieldcraft task. I'm sure you could actually, I know a friend of mine who could literally use this and a stick and drill a little bit onto the wood and get some little sawdust, and he actually can use this like a bowstring. So even with something like this, can be done if need be. This is the reason why you shouldn't completely finish the ends, so you can be removed to use for other tasks. So I'm going to take out the knife so you guys can see. So the knife, like I said, is KJ Mora. This thing's razor, so you do not want to play with this, but there you go. Now, reason why only up to this part for the wrapping is so it actually goes into the sheath. Second is because I want to have something for referencing. That's all I need it for. This is how I reference my blade, so I know which side is which side is the edge, and also at the same time for correct grip placement. It's the same as where I put my stippling on my guns. So I know where to, like forward flat, so I know where to put my thumb on, and also my index on the other side, so when you're not supposed to have your finger anywhere near the trigger, that's a good way to do it. So it's the same kind of concept behind that. The lanyard, if I'm doing it in a forward grip, it'll work so. Now, beauty of the lanyard is, one, for fighting applications. It allows you to go for the cuts without the fear of losing your knife. At the same time, when you're using it in reverse grip, it also allows you to get that blade pointed towards the edge. Again, thrusting without fear of losing your blade. This is the reason why when you come to spar with me, you see on my sparring buffers, all the lanyards on there. Now, reason why I like this so much is the guard. That guard really works and to do what it's supposed to do, which is, in this case, it's not a fighting guard. It's to prevent my finger from slipping onto the blade, which is very important when I'm going for my thrust and slashing. And same goes for in its reverse grip. It also tells me where I don't have to worry about the blade riding onto my hand. So there you go. Very difficult to source and find, but I have a machete and a knife set currently ready for. Now I want you guys to understand something. Stainless means stainless, alright? It does not mean stain proof or doesn't stain. So this is the key thing you need to understand with stainless steel knives, because I had students of mine ask me, gee, do I need to oil this? And I'll tell you right now, they might be stainless, but yes, you do need to oil them. So if you can't find an oil, Uncle Jim used to tell me to grab some diesel and actually put some diesel oil on your blades if you can't find any blade oil. So that works too. But there you go. I believe that this is probably the best way to start teaching your young ones about knife. Good way to introduce them to a knife without worrying about building bad skills. It's like go camping with your kids, okay? And give them a Mora. One, teach them before you give it to them, and what not to do, and what they could do with them, and let them have some fun. And beauty of all is, let's say, especially when you're taking camping, let's say they were playing with this and doing what you ask them to do, like do some chore, like create a throw stick or whatever. Then all of a sudden they accidentally lose a knife. They don't have to cry over it, or you don't have to get mad at them, because one, obviously it didn't cost that much. You could replace it immediately with a similar Mora if you just get the ones that's currently available. So there's that. But if you ask me, it's one knife that everybody should have, because you could use for everything. Fieldcraft. So when I say Fieldcraft, people ask me, what the hell do you mean by Fieldcraft? That's pretty much my way of saying for anything that you can use for survival and tracking and wilderness, anything like that, I put that towards the Fieldcraft stuff. So it's not just limited to fighting. For fighting applications, yeah, this works wonders. Some of my students ask me, so why should I get this versus some crazy super custom knife that, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Team 6 is using? So if you're one of those people who follow what is the it or the fad, by all means do. There's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you like, cool. That's fine. That just means that you're probably doing financially much better than I am. So that's awesome. Play with that. But if you have a hard time putting that to use because that thing costs an arm and a leg to acquire, then by all means get yourself one of these. Mod them to fit what you want to do with them and put them to use, because there's nothing more worse than getting something and not doing anything with it other than just staring at it at a wall. I mean, you could do that with a cheap 420 J2 steel Japanese replica. I mean, I have clients who do that. They'll grab, like a couple weeks back, I had a client who called me and said, gee, can I bring you a sword for you to wrap? I said, okay, so what do you want me to do? I heard you do sakamaki. And I says, yes I do, but that's also very, very annoying for me, so it costs you quite a bit. But let me see it. What do you want to do? And he brings this sword, and I look at it, and I start laughing with this. It says right there, it says 420 J2 steel. And it's like, why would you want to do this have me do this on a stainless steel knife or sword? And he goes like, well, because it's going to be for decoration. I don't want something that's actually worth something that if people kind of fumble around with it, it's gonna get all messed up. I said, like, good point, but you sure you want me to do this? I mean, my sakamaki will cost you more than how much it costs to get this replica for wall hanger. He says, that's a good point too. So the story on that, I'll tell you all about it sometimes. But there you go, guys. If you want to see the Mora and the Tramontina Machete, which is my recommendation for anyone who practice Floro fighting systems, because one, the machete will not only allow you to do FFS machete, obviously, but it also works great for building the skill sets that you need for Essential Calice Illustrissimo, which is actually part of the curriculum program also. And as for the Mora, it works great for FFS foregrip and reverse grip, as I just showed you for the difference in gripping and technique wise. But not only that, it works. Both of these are great for fieldcraft, meaning if you're going in areas where you need to clear some bushes, this will do the trick. If you need something to do minor chores, and I don't like batoning with knives, but if need be, this will do its trick. As for the machete, I've had 2 students who baton with a machete in the past, and that resulted in kind of a mixed thoughts on that particular technique for that particular purpose. I had one student whose machete actually snapped, which was quite scary when that shit happens. Another one who brought me his machete where the edge was all rolled up. So kind of goes to, again, that heat treatment is very important regardless of what kind of blade you're using. Alright, stay sharp, be safe, and hope you guys have a great day. The next review, guys, is going to be on the Antac Blades Minuteman.